Charlie's big on lowering expectations.
Absolutely. That's the way I got married. My wife lowered her expectations.
This is Charlie Munger. He's a 99-year-old investor and partner of Warren Buffett. Today, he's going to take us on a journey to make the worst VR game possible. Your Shrimpo's back, and welcome to my new series on VR development tips, tricks, and techniques. Here, I'm going to explore broader ideas around VR so we can figure out what works and what doesn't work. More standard VR tutorials will be back in the future, but I just want to test this series out, so let me know in the comments if you find this useful. So what does Charlie Munger have to do with VR development? Well, in one word, wisdom. You see, Charlie has a series of mental models that he uses to prevent him from making dumb mistakes. The one we're going to explore today is called inverse thinking. With inverse thinking, instead of asking ourselves, how do we make a good VR game, we should really ask ourselves, how can we make the worst VR game possible? Once we come up with a list of ideas to make it the worst VR game possible, we simply avoid doing that. Or to quote Charlie Munger, all I want to know is where I'm gonna die, so I'll never go there. Now, what can we do to kill our VR games? Luckily, Meta has come out with an answer, and no, I'm not talking about Horizon Worlds. Instead, I found a 40-page document on Oculus best practices and picked out what they told me not to do. Some of the terrible ideas include low frame rates, introducing movement without player input, having fast movement speed greater than 1.4 meters per second, moving the horizon so the ground seems unstable, and zooming in on the camera on the head-mounted display. I'll make sure to link this document down below so you can read through this and find all the VR taboos that you should avoid that I didn't cover in this video. I wanted to experience this unholy list of things to avoid for myself. So I made the VR Sickness Lab. Inside this game, I created a simple obstacle course that you could run through, and it has a timer when you get to the end. And the only catch is I have a board of bad ideas. At the top of the list, you can see we have a low FPS simulator. This is just simply activates a bunch of objects that are unoptimized with their draw calls. So when I turn it on, you can see, yeah, it sucks. Moving players without their input is done through bumper balls. These bad boys move back and forth and apply force whenever a player runs into them. It wasn't too nauseating, but if it was my first time in VR, I'd probably be doubled over after running into a few of them. Fast movement speed is another one that I didn't find to be too bad. I remember playing a Rec Room game when I first tried out VR, and I got pretty sick due to the movement speed, but I guess my VR legs are strong now. Moving the horizon just seemed weird to add in the first place. Maybe if you were simulating an earthquake in your game, this is another one I'd say would cause more motion sickness the longer you're exposed to it. And this is it. This is the one. Out of all the terrible creations, this is the only one that is truly cursed. Zooming in on the camera alone is bad, but I decided, why not do it every time the user moves? I want you to know that Unity does everything in its power to prevent you from zooming in the head-mounted display. I actually had to use post-processing to make this work, because normally you could just change the field of view on the camera, but Unity will only give that to the head-mounted display. That's the thing that sets it. So thank you, Unity, for trying to prevent this, but I did it anyways. If you want to try out the VR Sickness Lab, I'll have the link below to itch and also SideQuest if it ever gets approved there. And there you have it, the VR Sickness Lab. You can come in, explore, try things out, and get motion sick. So if you're struggling with your current project, just remember to ask yourself, what could I do if I wanted this to fail? Because if we know where our VR games are going to die, it'll be easier just to not go there. I hope you found this all interesting and useful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.